Hey guys, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kristen. I just came across my labor and delivery story that I recorded way back in September, well, October, 2 weeks after I had my son Bryce. And I don't know why I didn't share it with you guys. So I figured, why not share it now? It's now July, so he's already 10 months old. So it's really fun to go back and watch this and remember all the details of my labor and delivery story and remember how cute and tiny he was in my arms. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. I definitely enjoyed watching it. So this is how the whole labor and delivery process with my son went. All right, hello everyone. So today I'm going to be doing my labor and delivery story. I mostly want to just record this for my own records so I can remember what happened, because even 2 weeks later it's already starting to kind of be like a blur, and I don't know, even right after, I hardly even remembered what happened because it was all really crazy and happened super fast. So I guess I'll start kind of from the beginning. So I had a really good pregnancy. It was very healthy and went by extremely fast. Um, Definitely started getting tired toward the end, but I felt really good. My doctor at like 37 weeks had said, at 38 weeks, we can start doing a lot of walking. And she told me that I could start taking evening primrose oil to start helping to ripen my cervix a little bit. My mom was overdue with both babies that she had, and was actually 2 weeks overdue with me, and ended up with a C-section, and was a week over with my brother, and ended up with an induction. So we were trying to hopefully get the process going on my own as much as possible so that I could avoid an induction. And so smiling. Um, so yeah, so the midwife that I met with at my 37-week appointment was really good about telling me how I can be proactive in hopefully starting labor of my own. She said walking up hills would be a really helpful thing. So at 38 weeks, I started definitely walking a lot. I was really active through my whole pregnancy, but I started being more intentional about actually going out for walks. And we have a hill right next to our house, and so I went close to every day, at least several times a week, up and down that hill, in hopes that it would help drop the baby and hopefully dilate me and get things going. So I did that. I started taking the evening primrose oil at 38 weeks. I wasn't faithful about taking it every day. I was just kind of every once in a while. And then by 39 weeks, I was trying everything. Eating pineapple. We went out for Mexican. We had Chinese food. All of the stupid, like, induce your labor things that they tell you to do. And obviously none of that stuff worked. So at my 40-week appointment, it was actually my first time that I got checked to see where I was at with my dilation and ripening of my cervix and things like that. So at that appointment, I was 2 to 3 centimeters dilated, or 2 centimeters dilated, and about 80-ish% effaced. So that was really exciting, and the baby's head was super low, and they said that they could feel like the bag of water and stuff. So things were progressing at least a little bit. So that was exciting. So that was a Wednesday. We had that appointment. Then they scheduled my 41-week appointment for the following Wednesday, and she said, "Oh, I don't think you'll make it to that." So I was really hoping that I wouldn't. And of course, when you're that far along in your pregnancy and you're overdue, and every day you're hoping that today's the day that I'm going to have a baby, or like I would go to bed at night and then think, oh, I hope I go into labor tonight. And of course, never happened, never happened, never happened. And so I was still doing, all my walking and things, but I definitely was trying to get as much rest as possible. I cleaned the house like every day just so that the house would be clean when I had the baby. I've never vacuumed so much in my life just because, trying to keep myself busy. So then 41 weeks rolls around and we still didn't have a baby. So back to the doctors I went on that Wednesday, and got checked again, and I was 3 to 4 centimeters dilated and 90% effaced. So I was progressing a little bit, but it wasn't like an actual active labor. So it was exciting, yet kind of still just I was hoping that things would have happened by then. And so at that appointment, we talked about induction and scheduled it for the following Monday. So we had our appointment Wednesday. We were scheduled for induction Monday, which would have been September 28th. And we had to also, since I was 41 weeks over, or, a week overdue, plus we had to schedule an ultrasound to check his fluid levels and make sure everything was okay with the baby, and then also schedule a non-stress test just to make sure that everything was going well. So we scheduled that for that Friday, and they said, well, hopefully you'll have a baby before then. And then of course Friday rolls around and I still don't have a baby. So we went to that appointment, got checked out. His fluid levels were totally fine, everything was great. Passed the NST no problem. His movements were still all perfect and everything. I think that they just ended up miscalculating my due date. So he wasn't really as overdue as we thought, but man, it felt like I was forever overdue. And so at that Friday appointment, she kind of was like, do you want to be induced? Do you want to wait until Monday still? Where are you at? And so basically I could have gotten induced right then. And it was really tempting, but I was like, I'll give it a few more days. She swept my membranes, which was the second time I had that done. I had it done on that Wednesday too, which didn't work. So they did that, and she told us to just go home and rest and walk and whatever. So we did that. And so that Saturday, I just was kind of feeling like off. I pretty much just stayed home and rested, and by the afternoon I was like, I need to go do something because I'm going stir crazy. So we went and got some groceries and did some errands, and I was just feeling like weird, and I was having lots of crampiness, which I had been having, so it wasn't like that different, but it just felt a little different than what it had. And so I was hoping that something would happen that night. And of course I wake up Sunday morning, nothing happened. So like, what the heck? Guess we're just going to have to wait till tomorrow, which was Monday. And so that morning, Blake went out and did stuff, and I just stayed around the house. I was cleaning and vacuuming, and I started having contractions that felt different than the Braxton Hicks that I had been having pretty frequently, because, my body was obviously getting ready to go into labor. So by 11 o'clock, they started getting pretty not intense, but definitely noticeable. I could still, move through them and talk through them and whatever. I was singing through them because I was singing while I was cleaning. But I started timing them at 11 on the dot. And so I was like, okay, like try not to get my hopes up, because I had been timing them a couple times before and they just stopped. But these felt different. So I was like, So timed him for a while. Blake came home, I think like around noon. And I said, I think I'm going into labor. And he just kind of looked at me like, what? I was like, I'm having contractions, whatever. So the Patriots were playing at 1. So, we just kind of chilled out and tried to watch the Pats game. But by the time the Patriots came on, my contractions were definitely getting stronger, and I was like, okay, this is definitely it. Like, I'm definitely going into labor. But of course they, first time labors, they say take a long time, and I wanted to labor at home as long as possible. So still timing them, trying to, just not, I was trying to ignore them, but they weren't ignorable at this point. By 1 o'clock, when the Pats were playing, it was definitely close my eyes and breathe through them. So at 2 o'clock, they had been 5 minutes apart pretty much since they started. So by 2 o'clock, they definitely were 5 minutes apart, some a little bit closer. And they had been that way for an hour, which is what they say. And they were lasting like 45 to 50 seconds, a little bit longer, some of them. But so they say when they last a minute, then that's when you call. So I was like, I'm going to give the doctor a call. So I called her. She called me back. And we talked, and I told her what was going on. And she said, well, since it's your first baby, you're probably going to still be a while. And she said, you can either try to labor at home a little longer, and then you can call back again when you feel like they're getting a little stronger and closer together. And she asked me if I was grunting through them, and I said, no, I'm just breathing through them, but they're definitely, I can't talk through them anymore. And she said you can go in and they'll put you up to the monitors, and if you're not like in true labor, then they're going to send you home. And I was like, well, I don't want to be sent home because we live a half an hour away from the hospital. So that was at 2 o'clock. By 2:30, 2:45, they were intense. I was grunting. I had to be sitting through them. I did not want to be standing. There was a couple I was getting ready in the bathroom because I was like, we need to go to the doctor. And just standing in the bathroom, like hunched over the sink, grabbing onto the sink, like moaning because they hurt. They got intense fast. But they still weren't horrible. But definitely, I had 3 right before we left for the hospital that were only 3 minutes apart, and I was like, okay, we got to go now. So I didn't even call the doctor back until we were in the car. And of course, I'm trying not to have I didn't even actually talk to the doctor again. I just talked to the person on call since it was weekend. I was like the answering person, and I told him I'm coming to the hospital. I already talked to the doctor once. We're on our way. Like, don't even have the doctor call me back. We're coming. So the ride to the hospital was interesting. We had the PATS game on in the background, and every time we had a contraction, I had a contraction, like would turn on the PATS game. I'd squeeze his leg in the door and just try to breathe through it. But the bumps and the motion in the car was horrible when I was having contractions. It was like motion sickness, horrible. I felt like I was going to throw up through everyone. And they were still like 4 minutes apart at this point. And from the time we left from to the hospital from our house and got to the hospital, they intensified a lot. Like Blake even said, wow, this is going a lot faster than I expected. So we pull into the hospital. Thank God there was a parking spot pretty close. So I got out and walked by myself, but probably could have used a wheelchair, but I was stubborn. And as we were pulling into the hospital, I was like, I need to pee now. So I made a beeline for the lobby bathroom at the hospital because I couldn't even make it up to my room in labor and delivery. Thank God I didn't give birth on the toilet in there because I had a contraction while I was in there. So that was kind of funny. So we walked up to labor and delivery. I had a contraction in the elevator, which was a really strong one. I was grabbing onto the bar and just like hunched over, and not fun. So then we walked over to check in or whatever, and the nurses said they were excited to see me because they were getting my paperwork ready for the following day to have induction. So that was kind of cool to have gone in, before I had to be induced. So she was going over all the paperwork and stuff, and that I had to sign and, wave my life away and whatever. I don't even remember what the paperwork said. She's going over it at the counter, and I had a contraction that was pretty strong, and so I was breathing through that, and she was like, do you want to go move to a room now? Because she could tell that, like, these were no joke. So she moved me to the room before I even finished the paperwork and got me on the bed. Once I finished signing everything, whatever, and that was at 3:27, I remember writing, that we got to the hospital and filled out the paperwork. They hooked me up to the monitors to measure my contractions and his heart rate. His heart rate was perfect through the whole entire thing, which was awesome. Then they said they were going to check me. So there was like a nurse training. So the nurse that was training was going to check me. And then she said if it's not too painful, then we'll have the nurse that wasn't training, the one that was doing the training, check me again to make sure that she did it right or whatever. So she checked me and said I was like a 5 or 6. And right after she checked me, I had a contraction, and it was horrible to be laying in bed like on my back. So they told me to roll to my side. So when I rolled to my side, my water broke, and I was like, I think my water just broke very calmly through this whole thing, which was kind of funny because I was definitely in a lot of pain. And so they come running over and they peek, and they said, yep, that's definitely your water. Thank God there was no meconium in it, which was wonderful. So I was a little nervous about that. With overdue babies, sometimes that happens. It's not a big deal, but it just still is something you don't really want to have to deal with. So that was my water that broke. And So that was like right after I got there. So probably at like 3:40 or something, my water broke. They do a drug screening for everyone that goes in there in labor. So they needed me to pee in a cup. So they said, well, right after my water broke, they said, well, let's try to get that urine sample now. So I went to the bathroom and I sat on the toilet and I'm trying to pee and I couldn't pee. And so I was in there for a little bit. And of course, my water's going everywhere. It's a mess. And I started feeling a lot of pressure. And so they came and checked on me. They were like, are you okay in there? I said, well, I was like, I can't pee and I'm feeling a lot of pressure. And they said, okay, come back out here now. So I went back out to the bed. They hooked me back up to the monitors. I got them all set up and whatever. And that was horrible having the monitors on me because it's pushing into my belly while I'm having contractions, and I had to be in the bed and I couldn't be in a comfortable position, and my contractions were horrible. Then they had to start an IV because I had Group B strep. So they're trying to get that started on one arm while I'm having contractions. I couldn't get it in that arm. I had to go on the other arm. And meanwhile, they're calling the midwife because the midwife was just on call. She wasn't actually there because it was a Sunday. So they're like, I heard them say several times, did you call Sarah? Did you get a hold of Sarah? Because they could tell that this was happening really fast. Thank goodness she got there really quickly. And so that was not a problem. They got the IV in me and thankfully was able to get a round of antibiotics in before the baby came. But that was it. Normally they give you 2 and it's every 4 hours or every 2 hours, or I don't even remember, but there was no time for that. They're lucky they even got 1 round of antibiotics in me, but thank God he was totally fine and it wasn't a problem. And so they did that, and it wasn't long after, the midwife came in, she checked me, she said there's just a little tiny bit of cervix left. I was almost fully dilated by the time she got in there and checked me, which I have no sense of time between when my water broke and when I had the baby. I have no idea at all. Another funny thing that happened was when we got there, the Patriots were still playing. I wanted to watch the game, and so did Blake. So when I was first hooked up on the monitor, I was like, you should put the game on. And so we turned the TV on, and it wasn't even on for probably 3 minutes, and Blake turned it right back off because things intensified like crazy. So needless to say, we didn't catch the end of the Pats game. So when the midwife checked me, I was almost fully dilated. There was just a little bit of cervix left. I was finally able to get taken off the monitors, which it felt like I was on there forever. And when they took that off, it was so nice. It just alleviated a lot of the discomfort of having them on and whatever. So when they did that, I was able to flip around and be on my hands and knees and over the bed. And so I was like, they had the bed up like this. And so I was hanging on to the top of the bed and on my hands and knees, and I felt a lot of pressure. And so I said, I feel like I need to push. And my midwife just said, go with it. Go with what your body is telling you, which was awesome because there was no way that I was not pushing in that moment. It's crazy how your body just knows what to do. And it just does it. Your body just knows how to give birth, and it needs this baby out now. So started pushing, no idea what time. It felt really good to push, even though it was really painful. And so I pushed like that for a long time. The baby's head, not that long actually. It felt like it, but my husband was awesome putting cold cloths on my forehead and my neck and my back. And the baby was coming down. You could see his head when I was pushing, but he kept going back up, and I don't even know how many times I did that. Feeling him go back up was horrible. And so my midwife suggested turning around and laying on my back. So I did that, which hurt really bad to turn. But once I got turned around and I was kind of on my side, and I was holding myself up pretty much off the bed because I didn't even want to be it hurt to touch the bed. I don't know why. But I ended up putting my butt down finally, because I know somebody grabbed my leg. It was holding my leg for me. I don't know if Blake was holding the other one or what. The whole thing is such a blur. But that in that position, I only pushed a couple times and he came right out. It was really cool. She had me reach down and feel his head when he was coming out, which was awesome. And Blake got to take a peek and see, which was really cool. I didn't know if I'd want him to, but I really didn't care in that moment. And he thought it was really cool to see the baby coming out. So a couple more pushes and out he came. It was absolutely insane. So he was born at 4:47. So we got into the hospital at 3:27 and he was born at 4:47, an hour and 20 minutes later. Absolutely crazy. The craziest hour and 20 minutes of my life. Once he was born, they did skin to skin right away, which was awesome. Like, get emotional thinking about this and talking about it. And they do delayed cord clamping at this hospital, which was really cool. So they waited for the cord to stop pulsating. They went ahead and cut it, and she had me deliver the placenta, which was actually more painful than I thought it was going to be. She had the cord and she told me to give one more push, and so I pushed and out. It was just, I mean, it was really easy, but it hurt coming out, which I wasn't really anticipating. I thought it would just feel like nothing, but it definitely could feel like coming out. Once that was delivered, then, you know, she checked me. I only had 2 tiny little tears on either side. Didn't need stitches at all, which I was so excited about, because honestly I was more nervous about the healing process than the actual giving birth process when I was pregnant. So that was awesome. So we did skin to skin for a really long time. We kind of just soaked it up for a little while, and then finally ended up calling my parents and Blake's parents. We hadn't even told Blake's parents that we were coming to the hospital. We just figured we were going to wait until we were here and, you know, at the hospital and see where I was at. And then we would give them a call and tell them I was in labor. But it happened so fast that we couldn't even do that. And with my parents, I had told my mom that we were on our way to the hospital. And I told her I would keep her updated, and then she never heard from me again. So I called her and I said, he's here. And she freaked out because she totally didn't think it was going to be happening that fast at all. And obviously neither did anyone else. So that was crazy. So they all came to the hospital. We told them to come around 7. They were all here around 7. Excited to meet him. We were in our delivery room for a while. Then they had me get up and pee. And that was a fun experience. And, you know, did his weight. He was 8 pounds, 7 ounces, 20 1/4 inches long. Totally healthy, thank goodness. Blake got to cut the cord and help them do his footprints and things like that over there while I was getting cleaned up. And then after that, we walked to our room. I was able to walk by myself instead of getting wheeled over there, which was nice. So we went over to the postpartum room. We were only in there for like a couple minutes before my parents came and Blake's parents came. They got to visit him for a while, and then we went to bed. Yes, and I'm tired just even thinking about it. So it was quite the experience. I'm thankful that it went as fast as it did, because it was really painful, but it intensified really quickly. I can't imagine having a labor that lasts hours and hours and hours. And you hear about people that had 20-hour labors, and I was kind of anticipating that. I was really looking forward to using their laboring tub, because they have awesome, awesome tubs at the hospital I gave birth at, but that didn't happen at all. Or using the birthing. The nurse had even suggested once I was off the monitors to go on the birthing balls, but that didn't happen. I mean, all these things that you think about that, you know, I had planned in my head were going to happen, didn't happen. But that's totally fine. It happened the way it was supposed to, and it was perfect. And there was no time to even consider needing pain meds. He was coming out without them, whether I liked it or not. So that was really cool, actually, that I couldn't even have that option. And I didn't really want it. It didn't even cross my mind that I would need them. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for my labor and delivery story. I'll do a separate video on my postpartum recovery and things like that. But it was the most amazing experience ever. I mean, as painful as it was, and as many crazy noises and sounds I made, and whatever during giving birth, it was really a cool experience to feel, your baby coming out, and this baby that has been inside of you for 9 months, and then you finally get to see him. That was really cool to like know that he was inside me and now he's in my arms, and it's just really cool. So I think that's it for my labor and delivery story. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. I was trying to remember pretty much every detail to be able to remember this by, and this is a really long video. So I think that's it. Okay, and this is Bryce Timothy. He's zonked right now, thankfully. He's been cranky today. Okay, bye.